I don't want to set the world on fire. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Foally of Man. This is episode 19. My name is Chris, and with me here today...
A very confused Robert.
You can remain confused. Hello, everyone, and today we're looking at a chapter 21 of Fallout Equestria.
Indeed, this is a show where we go into Foally Equestria, written by K-Cat, which is a fan fiction that combines two of your favorite things, that being My Little Pony and Fallout. You are a Brony, I am not. I love Fallout, and I guess I'm growing some kind of tolerance for My Little Pony.
Would you say that you may not love, but tolerate it? Okay, you don't get that, I know.
Why would I get that?
Okay, sorry.
You make all these references to the camera. You know what's even funnier is that you make all these references to the camera, and our podcast crew at home who's listening to the audio version has no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, but they still get the joke.
Well, I suppose they would. Yeah, if you're seeking out an audio podcast about Fallout Equestria, you probably have a deep mantic knowledge about what's going on in the books.
Deep hurting.
So, in this episode, we cover Chapter 21, The Heart of Twilight Sparkle. Have you ever watched the moon rise over the wasteland? I wish I could have given you something as wonderful as that.
Ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Oh, man. Have I ever?
Okay, so let's get started. First up, Spike, the dragon. The fully grown dragon. Holy shit.
Yeah, a very, very, very big dragon.
Yes. And he says, don't worry, I won't hurt you. Which I left as a note, which is very esoteric, so I'm not even going to get into that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's so we finally, we touched on it at the end of the last chapter, but I really love this chapter. There's so much going on.
Yeah,
I mean, this was an exciting chapter just because of how many questions get answered.
Yeah, it's actually really good. Just starting out where they're just interacting. They're kind of like,
right.
Holy shit. And Spike is taken affront of by Steelhooves.
Yes, yeah, the very first proclamation is, you're all welcome, except for him.
Get out.
And little Pip assumes, does Spike have a problem with ghouls?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously there's no way to tell, but of course she would.
Yeah, it's always down to ghoul rights.
Yeah.
So,
maybe,
but anyways,
maybe.
They get to talking to Spike. They're going into. I want to make sure I don't skip over anything. They protest a little bit about Steelhooves having to leave, and Spike responds, "I breathe fire."
Good point.
Just a reminder. I'm a giant ass dragon.
You'll drive away to anything that can run your ass off the road.
Pretty sure I could take y'all, because y'all don't have that, triple helix cannon anymore, or whatever the hell it was.
Even then, Spike is not in such a lethargic and weakened state as Mr. Topaz.
Yeah. Well, and you got to remember, too, Calamity didn't kill Mr. Topaz. He just weakened Mr. Topaz. I mean, put that in mind.
Jesus.
So, of course, little Pip starts, in her conversations with Spike, starts getting, there's something clawing at her. Something bothering her.
And they also come across Twilight's books, which means that Velvet Remedy did not destroy her books.
Yep, that's good.
Always a good thing. But yeah, it suddenly, who is it, Velvet, who cried out, "You're a dragon!"
Oh, yeah, I did want to touch on that. So it is clear that Velvet Remedy is capable of kissing any ass, no matter how scaly.
Yeah.
I mean, really, come on. I mean, she is, and such a big dragon that you are.
You know that old saying...
sorry, go ahead.
Do you know that old saying, have a plan to kill everyone you meet?
Yeah.
Velvet Remedy's a little bit different, but still kind of a similar approach.
Yeah, she has a plan to lick boot of anyone she meets.
Yeah, get the one-uppins by kissing ass.
I couldn't help but be reminded... just the idea of a tiny little pony and a giant dragon made me think of Donkey from Shrek.
Yeah. And in the morning, we're making waffles.
Well, and actually, that's a really good point. So, it's clear that Spike loves Twilight Sparkle. Or just really, really good friends with Twilight. Admires, okay. Yeah.
This is something I'm going to have to kind of probably explain. Otherwise what happens may confuse. In the show... Twilight Sparkle is effectively his mother, but not really. Say how it worked.
Did he imprint on her? Like, was
Yeah.
he an egg? Ah.
Yeah.
It all becomes clear, and yet oh so cloudy. Speaking of cloudy.
However, the one that he is in love with, and this was obviously shown in the first episode, is Rarity.
Really?
Yes. Do you remember his statement later in the chapter where he's like, only 2 ponies even bothered doing anything. Everyone else was just fiddling about.
That
it was
is true.
Twilight Sparkle and Rarity.
Rarity. Ooh, my darling. Ooh, I'm sorry I don't speak that dreadful. Enough of that.
But yeah, we find that out. But then Pip, upon hearing, you're a dragon, goes, what the fuck? What the fuck, man? What the fuck? You could have done something.
Yeah, and just explodes at him like, here you are, you impenetrable, impervious, basically invincible Dra-gone.
Apex.
Yeah, Apex.
Creature.
Yeah. Apex predator, yeah. Well, I mean, dragons are totally capable of eating ponies. It's not their preferred food.
Well, as he said, the day Steel Rangers come into my cave are the days that I eat canned meat. Or canned food. And canned there being their shells.
It's so great. But anyways, Little Pip basically, once again demands an answer, to which Spike says... and answers the question of why didn't you help? Why weren't you there?
And he's kind of taken aback because he understands what she's getting at.
And Little Pip even mentions a line of like, how does she say it? What were you sleeping? Did you just not even? Did you not even know it happened?
Nap?
Yeah, were you taking a nap? Yeah. Well, dragons are known for their ability to sleep, sometimes for hundreds of years at a time.
It is a thing.
But of course, he winces at that. So I meant in the show, is it a trope that Spike is
not
sleepy?
Spike. Well, yes, actually it is. It is a trope that he is a sleepy, lazy one.
It seemed like it was being hinted at that being a trope in the story.
In the show, there was, I think it's the fourth episode. Ooh, I could be very wrong. It could be the fifth. Where they have to go and ask a dragon to kindly leave Equestria while he's sleeping because he snores, and when he snores, he creates plumes of black smoke, which will eventually cloud the skies. So they're like, could you please go sleep somewhere else? But they have to wake him up after he started napping.
Oh.
And so they're like, they say in the show, these dragons, they kind of sleep a long time, so if he keeps snoring, inevitably we will face something akin to a nuclear winter.
Yeah, interesting. And thus Foally of Equestria was born. Or hatched? It's a dragon.
It's a dragon.
I assume they're hatched.
It did come from a picture, otherwise, but yes.
It did Kim from a picture?
No.
Was that a little Freudian slip there?
Nah.
Show me your mentats. Come on. Hand them over.
They're mine.
I know they're good for you. All right.
I couldn't do the show without them.
I know. I was just more... me.
I was a better pony.
Yeah. But anyways, Little Pip demands an answer to why, and he says, he asks Velvet Remedy and Calamity, do you trust her? Do you trust Little Pip?
They're without a hesitation.
Calamity. Yep, of course. Well, of course, he's a Dashite.
Yeah. He puts trust in ponies that actually try to do what they say they're going to do. Because she does. She follows through with what she says. She says, I'm going to go save Monterey Jack. Both Velvet Remedy and Calamity knew she said that she would do it. There wasn't going to be her hemming and hawing. Well, maybe I don't know if I should or not. No, she was going to do it. That's the reason Velvet stopped her.
Exactly, because they knew it would have been suicide mission.
She is. I'm not. I'm going to tell you right now. Her virtue is not honesty, but if you could stretch that, she's honest to a fault in that regard.
But anyways, when they respond in kind to that effect, Little Pip proceeds to... let me clarify. Spike says, I will talk to only Little Pip. I cannot tell the rest of you why. Yeah. So Little Pip follows Spike into the back of the cave. Now, Little Pip originally had viewed a very simple computer mainframe by Spike's bed. Just a simple, what do you call them? Terminal? What do you have there? No, not that.
It's a terminal.
We'll get to that. The one that he had by his bed. And she's like, well, there's no way he was doing all that hacking from there.
Yeah.
Well, what we find out is exactly what he was doing the hacking from was the Crusader mainframe that he had. We'd already known of the other two. Now here's the third here with Spike in the back of his cave. And sitting on the Crusader mainframe is the, what do you call them?
Elements
of harmony. Thank you. Thank you.
The Elements of Armory, sorry.
Oh, golly. Which we find out have only all been wielded at one time, once before, by Celestia herself.
Yeah, the god.
Yeah. And we also find out that Celestia's dead.
Yeah.
All the gods are dead.
Yeah, and all the elements are dead.
And all the people who carried the elements. And that Spike, for all of this time, has been searching for ponies good enough and their friendship strong enough to be able to wield
those
elements of
elements. Whose lives represent those virtues.
And we find out that the Crusader mainframe with these elements is essentially a Gek.
Yeah.
This is the Gek. This is the Garden of Eden creation kit. So it creates a mega spell that essentially is designed to undo everything,
cleanse the nation of Equestria,
and cause new growth.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and furthermore, we find out later. I'm going to jump forward a little bit, but we find out that the towers, what's it called, the single pony.
The Single Pony project, or the Sustainable Pegasi project.
Correct. Well, and the Pegasi were using those same towers to grow massive crops to feed them. So I don't want to jump too far ahead. We can put a pin in that and come back to that later in the episode. It's important. That's really important.
I mean, we'll get into it later. It happens.
Yeah. So anyways, and Little Pip also kind of realizes that to the level of magic needed to be able to wield an element to actually execute this massive spell, she's like, I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
We're not good enough. Our group is not good enough.
Well, partially because the magic imbues itself onto the user. So, yeah, you can actually wield enough magic to control them, but it is a terrifying amount of magic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's extraordinary.
Well, and we got to remember, so Little Pip, of her parlor trick, the levitation, lifting things, it's maxed out. You know, she is, she's amazing at it.
Yeah, she is.
But it's all she can do.
Yeah, she is a one-trick pony.
Oh, man.
They say that in the chapter, so I can't take credit for it. She actually says it during that point. She says, I may be good at this, but I'm a
one-trick pony. Yeah.
And yeah, this is when you find out it can't be fired because there's no one to use it.
Right. And it's not just finding those individuals; they have to be friends. There has to be a connection of friendship between them
to resemble the connection the elements have to each other.
But Little Pip has the realization that she does know a pony that she believes is virtuous enough to do it. And it's when Spike says, how can you imagine how hard it is to find a pony that represents the virtue of laughter in the wasteland? And Little Pip immediately thinks of Ditsy Doo.
Yeah, some pony who can still smile after all this time.
No matter what. And I guess I didn't realize, I wasn't really paying attention until later in the chapter when we see Ditsy Doo again, that Ditsy Doo was a Pegasi.
Yeah.
I didn't realize. I wasn't really, I guess, paying enough attention to begin with.
Yeah, that is something that is not touched on in this. It's one of those
especially
things.
because Pegasi are so rare. I mean, but again, she's a ghoul, so she's
from pre-war era.
Right, exactly. So that's, because I was going to say, otherwise, the deal with Calamity
is remember as well, her sky carriage was in the graveyard.
Yeah.
Under Cloudsdale. She saw Cloudsdale burn.
Yeah.
What that must do to anyone's psyche is terrifying.
And yet she can still laugh.
It's the only thing she has.
Yeah, I suppose so. Well,
terrifying.
that and skin that's slowly rotting off. She has a lot of that.
Yeah.
So let's see here. Moving on, we also find out Spike has a collection of all 6 of the statuettes. And he tells Little Pip, warns Little Pip, he says, in your journeys, you're going to discover some not so nice things about my Twi. He calls her my Twi, Twilight Sparkle. And he says, but I want you to know that this machine, this was Twilight Sparkle's greatest achievement.
This was her gift.
This was her gift. This was to undo all the damage that they'd done.
For Celestia so loved the world
that
she gave her most faithful students, Twilight Sparkle, that who should ever believe in her shall not die, but have everlasting life.
Did you really just make a Christ allegory?
I wasn't the one who made it.
It's great.
There's Christ allegories everywhere.
I'm not going to be satisfied until Twilight sparkles on a crucifix.
No, you're not going to see that.
But let's see here. Also, Spike talks about how awful how ill-equipped they were for a war.
Yeah, this is actually a hilarious thing we talked about in our last episode.
Yeah.
One society that had never seen combat, that had never seen any kind of conflict. Of course, they're not going to do anything right.
Yeah.
But they're so dedicated and have such conviction that they won't give up. And both of those things together is ultimately their flaw.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem with a peaceful society that suddenly has war thrust upon it. Let's see here. Okay, we talked about got it here, there. Yep. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we do want to touch on this. So when he talks, we see the figurines in the case. He tells little Pip, don't tell everybody, or don't make fun of an adult playing with dolls.
Yeah.
Or how's it worded?
And I swear, one joke about a grown guy playing with dolls.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, take that.
Well, and we start getting a glimpse of what pre-war Equestria looked like through stories. In fact, they're having a moment of bonding. We're seeing it's very, not humanizing, I guess, ponyizing?
Equinizing?
Equinizing. That works. Yeah, equinizing. So they're having stories, they're sharing stories. Little Pip is sharing some of the things she's come across.
Do you remember when he made fun of me when I said equinity instead of humanity? Mm-hmm. Now you're saying it.
Yeah. Well, I just told you, apparently there's a term for all of it. So I want to be very sensitive to my pony community,
My little pony community?
Oh, God, it is a little pony community. We need more fans so we can say our big pony community. Hey, baby, you want to see my big pony? Okay,
but yeah, there's that, which is cute. But some of the things he's actually talking about are episodes of the show.
I gotcha. So I got
Winter wrap up. Winter wrap up is actually kind of important in this because
that's a really good story because we find out the purpose behind it. So the holiday that's created essentially to give Earth ponies something to do, feel like they're a part, and actively participating in the change of seasons.
Ponies are the custodians of their world. Nothing happens naturally. It's all happening due to their influence.
The sun and the moon rise and fall. Weather occurs. You're right. They impart that power on there.
Yeah, and that's why it's amazing, but that's also why they have to do it, and that's what the single Pegasus...
Now, I do thought it was interesting talking about Earth ponies, that Earth ponies, though, though they have to work, they have been great at developing great technology to make their work easier. Mm-hmm. And not that they were doing less work, but that they could do more work in a shorter amount of time. Mm-hmm. I thought it was an interesting distinction, too. It wasn't a laziness thing, it wasn't, they're industrious. Earth ponies are industrious.
Efficient and industrious.
And there's a story about Pinkie Pie having some flying machine.
Yeah, she had a flying machine.
Was that from the show?
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to figure out. But also that they posit that the wheel probably would have never been invented were it not for Earth ponies.
Oh, yeah. No, because they wouldn't have had a reason.
There's no reason to.
Yeah. Unicorns can make anything...
just pull sleds in the sky.
Yeah, and the unicorns could drag anything or carry anything as they needed, so they didn't have to worry about moving cargo. Only Earth ponies were the innovators of physical technologies.
But it does kind of seem like it's a holiday that was created by the gods to make Earth ponies feel more
all
involved.
of them do it. Winter wrap up is all communities. It's a bigger deal with the Earth ponies.
Yeah,
because they have to put effort into it.
Okay, so you're gonna answer.
I don't say it was imparted by the gods. It's a necessity of life that they saw as an opportunity to get something better.
My impression from my reading the story is it sounded like here's this thing that we do to give Earth ponies
work.
That's kind of how it sounded to me.
Well, because
let us know in the comments what y'all think. I mean, what your impressions were. Again, I don't have a show background, but it just seemed like to me the way it was presented was like, because it sounded like Little Pip didn't understand the importance. You know what I mean? But none of them also understood what a winter was.
This is actually something that happened in that episode as well, where Spike asks Twilight, why does it matter? Why can't you just use your magic to make it work? And she says, this is an Earth pony-based town. It was founded by Earth ponies. We're going to try to fit into their culture and do it that way.
Yes. Right.
Which ends up causing more problems because she's so afraid to use her magic that she messes up. And then they finally give her an administrative role, which totally isn't there to just get her out of everyone's way so they can continue doing work.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
She seems like the type to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
You'd be so happy if you just did what I told you to do.
The
Why
worst
can't
part-
everyone just do what I'm telling them to do, Chris?
The worst part, believe me, the worst part is that
You dropping some Trump signs on us? What are we doing here? Got
the
some
worst part
mudras.
is the fact that the episode frames it to where she's correct.
I gotcha.
They couldn't do it without her.
I gotcha.
They couldn't do it without the smart.
Would you
pony
say
coming in.
that the gift from the gods is infallible?
This is what I don't like about the show. This is how everything went wrong.
You're a goody two shoes. You're a goody two
Oh
shoes.
God, no. Okay,
Goody two hoofs. Sorry.
4 hoofs. 4 shoes. Okay, so moving on.
All right, so bum. Steel Hooves backs into the cave, but we find out he does that because Spike is like, "I told you you're not welcome here," and he's like, "I'm backing in. You have guests, and the guests are 3 Enclave."
I think it was 4.
It's 3.
It is 3. Okay.
It is 3. Yep, definitely 3. Definitely, totally 3. Definitely 3.
Yes, 3 Enclave.
2 males and 1 female.
Who Spike just erupts at and says, "You are not welcome here."
Right. Well, and then what they say is, well, we're here to escort your guests back below the clouds. They don't belong here.
And then they
Well,
remember.
wait, don't. I was going to say, well, yeah. So they recognize a member of the party, Colonel Calamity.
Was it Colonel? I think it was just officer.
No, it was Colonel or Captain, but he had a title.
Yeah,
I
it
believe
was
it's
a
Colonel.
military officer. I couldn't remember which.
Yeah,
which
I
type
believe
it
it's
was.
Colonel.
But yes, he
Not
was
a
a military
small
officer.
position,
He
yeah.
actually had a heightened position. He was one of the greatest and brightest of the Enclave military. And they said that he was
Because, of course, that's how it has to be in a story.
But they also said he was a murderer.
Yep. So, yeah, there's some interesting story there. But anyways, they say, well, we'll leave the rest of them here if you'll just give us him. Mm-hmm. And Spike plays with them for a moment. They're like, actually, there's a high bounty on his head. Lots of gems. We could give you gems if you'd let us take him. You could have the reward.
And Spike's like, gems? You come here? And you try to bribe
You
me?
threaten my guests, and then you try and bribe me with gems.
Do you want to live, right? You
with
actually
my
want to
friend,
live your life.
who was a follower of Rainbow Dash, who was one of my best friends. Well,
Big
anyways,
mistake.
yeah, he's not happy. He basically reaches out, grabs the female Enclave, flips up her visor, and through a nostril blows fire into it, cooking her alive inside the tin can.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
And then he says something to the effect of, "I haven't had cooked meat in a while." And then the other 2 run off.
Yep.
So it was pretty intense.
Intimidation.
And they
technique.
had the Enclave armor had these glowing gems on the side of it.
Yes, that's part of their internalized weaponry and power source.
Gotcha.
Similar to the Matrix system that they talked about on Steelhooves armor.
So anyways, little Pip, they realize that they need to leave. And, they're really concerned. They want to stay there and help Spike be able to defend the cave. But he says it'll be easier for me to defend it if you all aren't here.
They want their prize because now that Calamity's there, the Enclave is coming.
Correct. Yeah, now that they realize that, they've got no choice. And so they leave, excuse me, and they dip below. Well, they don't dip below the clouds immediately, but they realize they're being followed by the other two.
Yeah, it was Steelhooves' idea for them to draw the Pegasi knowingly away from the cave so they would no longer investigate it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they keep going above until they catch a patrol
Yep.
and then dive down. Calamity thinks, they're no longer chasing us, except they did, because they know that he was there.
Yeah, they will not stop until they have him.
So he does a suicide move straight into the ground.
Yeah, which is becoming a little bit of a trope. It's the second time we've done that now.
Yes, but this time it was led by Calamity.
Yeah. and they're firing magical weapon beams past them and through the thing, and very dangerous.
Stuff.
But we also find out from what they say that Calamity was one of the best shots of all Pegasi. Then they call him like Deadeye Calamity or something like that. Yeah, which is not surprising considering that he has a battle saddle equipped with sniper rifles.
Yeah, and
I do want to
accurate
clarify
weapon.
too. We find out something that Calamity had made a recent modification on his suit. Little Pip refers to it that he engages a with his hoof a lever that she said she could only assume was then changing ammunition types to armor piercing.
Yeah,
which is we forget that because we don't touch on it very often. But Calamity's really good with his hooves.
I'm sure Velvet Remedy would agree.
I don't want to know. I mean, I don't even know how that works. Are you just like, are you just like waffle stomping with a hoof? What's going on there?
Oh.
Right?
And we're
no,
done.
at least
And
with
we're done.
at least
Cut.
with the horn.
Cut.
At least with the horn, there's something that's going on. I mean, I feel like Charles Barkley talking about all this penetration here.
And we're done.
Okay.
Good night, everybody. Okay.
So we lose them, and we meet Ditsy Do outside of New Appaloosa
because they're
not allowed inside of Appaloosa. Nothing has changed there, and we run into a much healthier looking Silver Bell, who's not really making eye contact with anybody. But Velvet Remedy introduces Silver Bell to Pyrelight. That's right, Pyrelight, and Silver Bell immediately lights up. I mean, you think about this child who'd been raised in the wasteland. This is the most beautiful thing she's ever seen.
It's one of the most beautiful things in the wasteland.
And I love the I love the line about I can almost see her in the next week decorating the entire town in the colors of the Balefire Phoenix.
Oh god,
from top to bottom. Yeah, right.
Well, she's totally into the kind of thing of repainting and readjusting her entire life into some niche.
Well, she's an obsessive.
Yeah,
she's naturally an obsessive.
Yeah.
So, we also Little Pip talks to Steel Hooves about Fluttershy specifically
because she knows where this train wreck is going, and Velvet Remedy is wholly invested into
Fluttershy
because she that little memory orb of Fluttershy's meeting.
She keeps watching it
Yeah.
over and over and over again. Or
Yeah.
It's bad, and of course Steel Hooves basically says, there's a lot of different theories about what happened to Fluttershy. She most definitely survived to see what she did. But the questions of how she, what happened to her there is question whether she took herself into the wilds and let Equestria do to her what she did to it. There was a suggestion that she jumped off of the top of the Ministry building in what was
Canterlot?
Canterlot, that's right. I was trying to remember where she was in Canterlot. And Little Pip said, but wasn't she a Pegasi pony? And he says, yeah, but just stepping outside in that environment would have been a death sentence.
Yeah.
So, and I assume if you're Pegasus, if you choose not to fly, you'll fall like a rock. I would also assume that.
Also have to remember hollow bones.
That's very true. Ooh, I'd imagine that's kind of brittle.
Yeah.
Yeah, not great.
Squishy.
Yeah, ooh, not so great. More like chickens than anything else. And then, of course, the third theory was... Well, the third theory is that she went and became a tree in the Evermore Forest?
Everfree.
That
was
forest.
A joke from the show where they were delivering an apple tree to Applejack's cousin in Appaloosa. And they all said... Fluttershy's... So it got into a subject of how they confused Fluttershy with the tree they were carrying, and they said, Fluttershy's not a tree. No, I'm not saying Fluttershy's a tree. You said Fluttershy's a tree, and Fluttershy pops up, I'd like to be a tree.
Oh, boy. Oh, man, all these references that just mean nothing to me.
That's what we're working on to see if the book
when we
works.
come across them, when we come across those moments, it's like... Yeah, this is clearly something that is supposed to mean something, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, like the flower pot fell on my head, and then it was followed by an anvil. There was a sequence. You wouldn't have recognized it because it didn't stick out to you because you hadn't seen it.
It just sounds like a classic cartoon sequence.
It happened in one of the episodes where Twilight Sparkle was spying on someone, and out of the sky dropped a flower pot and then an anvil, and they look up like, how would this even work? And then they look up, and Ditsy Do was apparently trying to deliver something, and it slipped out.
Well, there you go. And last but not least, we have a recording of Rainbow Dash.
I have no idea where this came from.
I don't know where it came from either. It's not set up at all.
No,
it's
just
not
set up in the story. I trying to remember it because I think the first time I read it, and each subsequent time, I've like, where the hell did this come from? But
anyways,
it's in there.
It's basically an audio log of Rainbow Dash. It's a private journal, and we also have audio from Rainbow Dash being cornered by the Griffin Gilda, who's there to assassinate.
Yeah,
Rainbow Dash.
This is after the bombs fell and everything, and she left.
and Rainbow Dash forces Gilda to sing some song
from their childhood because they're friends.
I gotcha.
Or former friends.
Again, I don't know who Gilda is, so another person from the show. I take it.
Yeah, that's another thing that just kind of falls out weird.
And that was chapter 21.
I hope you all enjoyed.
Now, I have a question for you, Chris. Are you prepared? Are you ready, Freddy?
Know.
Are you ready? You sure?
Probably not.
It's the Pony Pun of the Week!
Ah!
All right, Christopher. The Pony Pun of the Week is, and I have something to add to this because I see what it is now. So, the Pony Pun of the Week is Prime Minister Ben Stampede Netanyahu. Huh?
I admit I came up with that.
What did you think of the Ben Stampede?
That's pretty good. Because I was like, Netanyahu.
So, of course, people have to know who Benjamin Netanyahu is. He's the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Israel. Way too political. Whoa, man. Talking about Jesus and Israel. People are going to think we're a bunch of Zionists.
I made a Trump symbol earlier.
Is the equivalent of Zionists in My Little Pony Lioness?
No.
I don't know. I was just thinking. There's like creatures. There's manticores. What's the name? Well, there's no heaven because the gods live with you.
Yeah.
Right?
There is no mention.
Is there a
of
pony afterlife?
There is no mention of afterlife, as far as I know.
It's like that episode
They did, however, have a funeral service in what episode?
Interesting.
So.
It's like that. Remember when Bender on Futurama was basically a god? He had the people living on his body in space, and they're like, "Do not worry, no metal lord. One day we shall be with you soon." You know, when they're dying.
You're already
He's like, "You're already with me. This is the max level of closeness you can be to me." And it's, I imagine that's what it is in the My Little Pony universe. It's like, worry not, Celestia. I shall be with you soon. You're with me now.
What are you doing? Get up.
Oh, quit your groveling.
Yes.
All right. So,
of course, it's a good idea.
Moving on to the listener questions of the week. Let's start off with ASDF FDS.
I think that's Astafitus.
Okay. Please tell me that doesn't mean something in My Little Pony.
No.
Or are they just hitting the keys that are next to each other?
I believe so.
Well, then why wouldn't you end on A? You know what? I'm getting distracted. So, Astafitus is the question is, come for the fall at Equestria, stay for the Norm Macdonald impressions. Well, that's not really a question. Oh, here we go. Here's a question I've been holding on to for a while. Do you think it would be possible to separate out the My Little Pony DNA from this story and make it strictly Fallout? Well, if you remove the wink, wink, nudge, nudge character references everywhere that mean nothing to me, I've said this before. This is a great Fallout story. It doesn't have to have My Little Pony.
I think we'll have to wait till the end to find out about it as well. There's a lot that hinges on those things, and it may still be great with it. And I honestly think it is, but I really feel like this is an answer that we can only end.
But there's parallels that you could argue. All right, so the elements of harmony. All right, so water chips or special weapons or pieces of Liberty Prime. You know, take your pick.
I mean,
there's all these
you
things
can definitely do it.
Yeah.
It's just there's an aspect of it that we'll wait till the end.
Well, I was gonna say, obviously, you're gonna say that you're the Brony. Like, yeah, you see the value in it. I guess what I'm saying, it sounds like I'm disparaging it, but what I'm actually saying is that speaks to the quality of the story.
Yeah,
that you don't have to have My Little Pony.
No,
like
you can.
I would read a version of this that wasn't My Little Pony, that was just Fallout, because I like Fallout, but I don't hate that it's My Little Pony. I mean, it's funny.
Yeah,
that's its thing, you know, and it works. Hey. It is what it is. All right, what's our next question, Chris?
It's from Moonblaze. Though, might I recommend you try the Fallout Equestria pen and paper game?
Pen and paper game?
That wasn't really a question, but it ended with a question mark, so I'm just going to go with that. Tabletop.
I'm having a good time? Sound like I'm from Charleston.
Pen and paper game. It's a tabletop D&D thing kind of thing.
Oh. I've never heard it referred to that way.
Neither have I. This is the first time I ever heard it. Was
like when I hear pen and
fandom.
paper, I think of like almost like choose your own adventure balderdash something. Yeah, I mean, so there apparently was a huge debate in the comments last week about My Little Pony and connections to which version of tabletop and background and whatever, and there was a linking to a story from Wizards of the Coast from 2006, which was an April Fool's Day thing, but Wizards of the Coast has done things with My Little Pony, so it was very complicated. Needless to say, My Little Pony is definitely connected to the mystical magical universe.
Oh yeah,
and has access to those creatures.
It still has that. Yeah, I'm sure. I think it would be hilarious if in the show they came across. I
guess the question is, do you, as the listeners in the audience, have any interest in watching us try and play a My Little Pony tabletop?
We could probably do something out of it once it ends. So just go through and see if we can do it, because we both love tabletops.
Yeah,
and stuff
full
like
disclosure, we actually just got back from a D&D session this afternoon. So if the lighting looks different, it's because it's a different time of day that we're recording. I know. Sorry. Peeling back the curtain, revealing the inner workings of the Foally of Man.
Yes, ignore the man behind the velvet
curtain. We should open a garden-centric version of the show called the Foliage of Man. For those of you, because Chris continues to forget that this is an audio podcast as well, he made a series of disgusted faces. You going to talk?
I don't know if I have an answer. That's the problem. It's not that.
Well,
I'm
welcome there, Christopher, to another great episode of the Foliage of Man. Not a lot to trim because it's the winter time, but when it comes spring, are you planning to plant any of them there rhododendrons, or are you going to do more azaleas?
We're going to move on to the last question.
Oh man, all these Robert-centric questions. All right, last question from Almanac Pony, a regular commenter on the show, Robert. What current mysteries in the fic are you looking most forward to seeing the reveal of, and do you have any personal predictions? Well, I want to know more about the towers, the Single Pony Project, and we already know some. So we know that Homage uses it like radio towers, and we know that the Pegasi use it to grow massive crops. I mean, apparently as high as the sky crops. Did the Pegasi in the show do agriculture? No, I didn't think so, because it's the Earth Ponies who grow things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we also know that Red Eyes is using them for something nefarious.
Yeah.
But we're not positive what it is. But it's not good. Again, for the audio listeners, Chris is shaking his head.
I just don't want it to where the audio clip is like, no.
I'm just trying to be sensitive. We do have like 15 or 20 people who download the audio, and if it's just radio silence, they won't know what's going on.
I'll look down and be like, wow, wait, are they still going?
If we really wanted to do this like
this is awful. Turn off.
We could do a dramatized old radio play version of these where you talk to this through like a megaphone, and we do sound effects with old...
Well, I was just going to walk down the way.
Now you're starting... Yeah, that was accurate, but now you're starting to sound like one of the parents from Charlie Brown. All right, that's enough. So yeah, that's the biggest mystery that I'm looking forward to. And as for a prediction, I would assume that Red Eyes is probably doing something in regards to a death ray, kill ray, mind control. Or Red Eyes could be doing something to enslave people. It could be a forced mutation. Sure, those are some theories. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, something to do with taint. Or is it called taint or corruption, or what's
taint.
It called?
It's taint.
It is taint. Taint nothing.
Taint misbehaving.
So yeah, what about what? Well, obviously you can't make predictions. You already know.
No, the biggest mystery that I want revealed is
how many episodes it will take for us to finish the book.
That's a good one. That's a real good one. I'll leave that up to you guys to figure out.
Oh boy, I was gonna say, what are we on? How many chapters are in the book?
54, 56.
It's a lot of episodes, but we're almost halfway.
Almost.
If we keep doing one chapter per episode.
Yeah. We're almost halfway through the chapters. The chapters at the end get really, really long.
Oh, man, yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much for tuning in this week. Once again, you can find us on Twitter at CriscoCast. You can find us on Libsyn at thefoalyofman.libsyn.com. You can also find our Facebook page, which there won't be a link there, but you can find us at Crisco Industries, or just search for The Foally of Man. It should pop up there. What am I forgetting, Christopher? Oh, you can also, if you're watching us on YouTube, you know this, but if you're listening at home, you can find our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Crisco Brand Biscuits, which is the easiest way to find us. And if you are listening to the audio version, thank you very much. We'd love to have you engage. There seems to be lots of comments on the YouTube, so that's a good place to head if you want to engage with the rest of the audience. And for those of you who watch at home, thanks again for tuning in every week. And this episode, you'll see, came out on Wednesday as well. And so we're going to really try and stick to our schedule.
Can't wait for this to come out on Thursday.
Well, and they know that when I say that, I'm recording it on a Sunday, so I have to make it so. I must make it so. But it warms the heart, the cockles of the heart, to know. But when we post a video and within a day, it's already got like 70 views or something. It's great. It makes it worthwhile. Because, again, we've said before, we don't do this for money. We do it for enjoyment. So,
I mean, tell your friends, tell your family, tell people you don't even know. In fact, kidnap people, tie them to a chair, make them watch.
The Ludovico technique.
I don't know
if My Little Pony crowd... So let me clarify. I don't know if the My Little Pony crowd should watch A Clockwork Orange, but the Fallout Equestria crowd totally can handle some Clockwork Orange.
Do it.
This is more intense than Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
I think you can handle it.
Old
I highly
Van.
recommend it.
Just listen to a little bit of the old Ludwig van.
I know. It's a classic Stanley Kubrick. So with that, for Chris, I'm Robert. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Foally of Man, and we will see y'all next week. Christopher, it's all to you. Oh, yeah. Look at that wicked-ass guitar solo.
It's all
Wow.
over.
Oh, God, there he goes.
But the crowd
What don't you know? There he goes.